All right. Thank you very much for that introduction. I appreciate it. Good talking to you all today. As was mentioned, I'm a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. I've been with the Weather Service for about 18 years now, which is hard to believe. And for the past seven, I've been in this emergency response specialist role, working with a wide variety of people across the West. Hopefully not too intimidated by the title of my presentation today, National Weather Service support of California wildfire operations before, during, and after the fire. If you're not in California, uh, probably about 90% of what I'm presenting will be applicable to you outside of California. And if you're not too involved in wildfire operations, I think about 90% of what I'll say is also applicable to a wide variety of hazards that the Weather Service forecasts and supports partners with. I also know that this is uh, transportation focused, so I will also weave in some transportation impacts as well. On that note, please, next slide. So just a quick Weather Service 101. I imagine a lot of you are familiar with this, but just in case you're not, really the backbone of the National Weather Service is our weather forecast offices. We have 122 of them across the United States. When it comes to the state of California, there are 10 offices that serve the state of California. And you can see here an overlap of the National Weather Service offices with the Caltrans districts. So as you can see, it's a little complicated to get that coordination right. You know, each weather service office has multiple districts to coordinate with, and in some cases, districts have multiple forecast offices to coordinate with. So that's really a partnership that's been built uh, quite a while over the years. Obviously, support from the Weather Service to DOTs varies quite a bit state by state, depending on the size of your state and how your transportation is organized. Um, some of it's at the state level. Obviously, quite a bit of work with the Pathfinder program, among others. Um, but with Caltrans, really a lot of, if you'll excuse the pun, where the rubber meets the road is with these districts. A lot of the work is done at the district level, and that's where a lot of our coordination happens, is between the districts and our local offices. Next slide, please. So first, I want to highlight on what we do before a wildfire even starts. And the first one there is building partnerships. I could probably do a whole presentation on building partnerships alone, because it's really one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, that the Weather Service does. During blue sky days, we take a lot of time to get to know our partners, to really understand their needs and what they really need as far as uh, weather details, what their pressure points are, that sort of thing. So I listed here, among our California transportation and wildfire partners, Caltrans, Cal OES Fire, Cal Fire, and really that's just scratching the surface of our local, county, state level partners across the state and really across the entire country. So that's really something that we really put a big focus on, is making sure we know our partners before an event happens. We do a lot of coordination with our fellow meteorologists. There are a lot of meteorologists outside the Weather Service in both the private and public sector. When it comes to transportation, a lot of states, and I believe some of the Caltrans districts, have contracted with private weather vendors to get more detail than the Weather Service really can provide. So we coordinate with them to make sure that we have a collaborated message, make sure that you're not hearing two different things from two different people. So we get the big message out to both our partners and the public. And then those private companies do a great job of really getting those details that the DOTs care about, including things like maintenance crews and plows, and getting specified forecasts for those. In the private sector, we also coordinate with the utility companies, especially when it comes to things like power safety, public safety power shutoffs, or PSPS. That's a important and growing concern across really many states, but especially in California. So we coordinate with those private sector meteorologists as well. And then when it comes to wildfires, one of our biggest collaborators is the Geographic Area Coordination Centers, or GACs. They have some meteorologists there as well that really take a close eye on things like fuels when it comes to wildfires, and really helps us collaborate our message when it comes to what conditions are going to make explosive growth for wildfires. Um, we do a lot of work with crews doing prescribed burns. So when it comes to managing things like forests and making sure some of these fires can't get out of control ahead of time, we do a lot of work with them. That includes planning forecasts. So if they know they need snow cover on the ground or that sort of thing, they'll call and talk to us about what conditions they need to burn. And then spot forecasts are really a big deal as far as getting the conditions right to make sure that's done safely each time. And then once we get closer to an event, obviously, big part of our job is communicating the forecast. Even before we get to the day 1 through 7 period, a lot of our longer term outlooks are getting more and more skillful, especially in that 8 to 14 day period. We can really start to see some of these big events coming before they start, and we try to message those as best we can. And then when we do get within 7 days, we communicate in a wide variety of ways. You've probably read some of our forecast discussions. We send emails to partners. If you're not on your local weather services partner email list, it can be quite helpful in identifying these events, whether they're going to be big or small. As things get closer, we'll often do webinars. And of course, our bread and butter are traditional watches warning advisories, with red flag warnings being really the big thing as far as fire weather is concerned. Next slide, please. So during the wildfire, one of the first things you have to do is find out where the wildfire is. So we do a lot of hotspot detection via satellite. Our latest generation of satellites can see those hot temperatures when the fire gets big enough or hot enough. So a lot of our offices have programs in place to identify where new wildfires pop up and notify the officials. And oftentimes, or at least in many occasions, they're able to identify where those fires are before it's even seen on the ground. So that's something that's really helped with identifying those fires ahead of time and getting the firefighting crews there sooner rather than later. Obviously, once the crews are on the ground, spot forecasts are a really big deal again to get them the weather that they need. And good old fashioned phone calls really are a big deal as far as, just talking about what you care about and, what you're concerned about when it comes to the fire. That said, we can provide the weather, but it's really the fire experts, including the fire behavior analysts, that know how the fire is going to spread. So if you call the weather service, and ask, is this fire going to cross the interstate? We'll be able to give you the winds, but really it's going to be the fire experts who are going to know exactly how that's going to spread and how quickly. And of course, during this period, we continue to collaborate with those private sector meteorologists at the DOTs and other organizations. And then when things get big enough, we do on-site deployments of meteorologists. Many of you in the fire community may be familiar with our incident meteorologists, or IMETs. They deploy to wildfires quite frequently across the entire country and support the crews on the ground there. But they're also trained to deploy to other incidents, such as hazmat, for example. So obviously a great resource there. We also deploy meteorologists to city, county, and state EOCs. That picture there on the right is myself at the California State Operations Center, I believe during the Palisades fire. So we've really put an emphasis on that recently, of deploying meteorologists to these locations, talking eye to eye with partners. And I put on here, we've even had some deployments to traffic operations centers in a few places. So if that's something that you've never thought of, but you're thinking about it, like, we could use a meteorologist either, on a scheduled basis or during big events at one of our traffic operations centers. Think about it. Maybe talk to your local National Weather Service and see if that might be a possibility there. Next slide, please. And after the wildfire, surprisingly, this is actually the most words on any of the slides, because there's still quite a bit of work to do after the wildfire. At the top is kind of a continuation of what we were talking about before, with spot forecasts, with on-site deployments, with verbal briefings. Really, a lot of that continues after the wildfire during cleanup because there's still obviously quite a bit to do there on the ground. We can also provide targeted email support for those recovery operations. You can see one example there in the upper right. I believe that's from the Sacramento office. But those can really be tailored for your needs and your thresholds, no matter what it is, whether it's recovering from a wildfire or if you have an extended period of time, like rebuilding a road segment. I know that's happened along the Pacific Coast Highway in California. If you have crews on the ground for an extended period of time during recovery and cleanup operations, it's really important to know where those safety thresholds are as far as weather concerns go. So we're happy to support that, even if it's going to be weeks or months of work there on the road. Obviously, after fires, debris flows are a big deal. We work with the BEAR teams, which are built up with numerous experts, many organizations on these teams to find out what the thresholds are for these burn scars and really kind of look at the impacts. Will this impact roadways? And if so, uh, will it also need evacuations? I've seen that in multiple occasions where, those after the fire is just as impactful, if not more impactful, because it can close roadways, it can impact houses yet again. So you can see an example of a debris flow there, actually from Utah back in 2014. There, crossing a roadway on the bottom right. And from the Weather Service, we can again provide specific email briefings tailored to those thresholds, tailored to those rain amounts and rain rates, and really let you know when the periods of most concern are for those debris flows. And so you can stage crews ahead of time or close roads ahead of time, depending on what the situation is. Next slide, please. So really, that's all I had. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what we do. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me or anyone on my team here at the Western Region Regional Operations Center. Thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.